Yeah, I've always been curious about that. I've always been curious about culture. When people say, "Hey, they did it for the culture," what does that mean? They did it for the culture, like, and then the other part is right. You stated that it may be different for everybody, but
Right.
when you go work at XYZ company, you're going to work at McDonald's. McDonald's has culture, right? They have here's our cultural statement. Here's the employee handbook. Here's how we behave and act. And you agree to behave and act this way. And nobody has a different interpretation of what organizational culture is because it's been defined by the organization that you're going to work for. So the question is, if we have culture in hip hop,
that's a good.
who defines the standards or the pillars of culture? Hey, it was good, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Indie Unplugged. I am your host, Vaughan.
Just Yohance.
And tonight, right now, we got my man, Brian Onrea.
What up, though?
What up, man? I had to make sure I said it right, too. I was like,
you said it right.
I was like, Onrea. Yeah, Onrea. What's good, bro?
Hey, man.
My man is
Life
rocking
is good, man.
the Detroit Tigers, y'all. Like,
even though the Braves swept us last week.
But you still got to look, no matter who speaks who, it's like, still represent.
Of course, always.
Like,
man.
don't even go bust out my St. Louis gear. You know what I'm saying? 314. Well, it ain't 314, Dave, but I'm just saying. Like,
y'all broke our heart, man. We played y'all in the World Series maybe 20 years ago. No, sooner than that. Maybe like 15 years ago. And y'all beat us in the World Series.
But how long has it been since? When was the last time St. Louis was?
That might have been.
The Cardinals was.
That might have been it. That might have been when y'all last time y'all won. But y'all beat us. We had Justin Verlander. I forgot the other guy's name, but the one, the guy that pitched in Washington and won the championship. I forget his name, but yeah, y'all broke our hearts, man. In St. Louis.
My bad, bro.
I'm a sports guy.
Like, I actually haven't watched sports in so long. I stopped watching sports when they broke up the 49ers. I was a huge 49ers fan, bro. Like, huge. When I say huge, I mean like Jerry Rice days. Steve Young. Joe Montana. You got to go Joe Montana first.
That's when I started watching sports.
And then Steve Young. Yeah. Right, because Joe Montana was first, then Steve Young. Right, we got to get it. We got to get it right.
Yeah, Joe Montana was the GOAT.
The GOAT
before
right?
Tom Brady.
Like we had, like the 49ers had the best team, and then they broke them all up.
Yeah.
They kept winning too many times, bro. Like they were like,
we got Dion.
They sent Joe to Kansas City.
right.
But Steve Young it was Steve Young. It was his time though.
Yeah. It was his time.
He was a backup for many years, Joe Montana. And give him a chance.
And when he came up, boy,
yeah,
he was ready. It's like they were grooming that dude. Like, yo, when I leave, you the man.
Something like how Aaron Rodgers did, and then Jordan Love. So it ain't always bad to sit a quarterback down for a few years.
Right.
Man.
That's crazy. I'm a Packer fan and a 49ers fan.
You can't be both.
Yes, I can.
You gotta be.
I'm a 49er fan first and foremost, but because I'm from Wisconsin, a Packer fan, but I'm a 49er fan.
Okay, yeah. Even though one of my cousins played for the Jaguars, I'm still like, I don't care. I'm still 49ers though. Like, you could be who. I don't care. You the quarterback. I'll give you the quarterback. Shoot, nope. But yeah. Man, but welcome though, bro. I appreciate it. Yohance, it's always good to see you, man. Like, I missed you on Wednesday because you had a flat tire, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you should have just rolled on that flat tire.
Nah, that tire was trying to come off of the car.
Right.
So you saw how it looked.
That's right. All right, let's get into it, man. Tonight we got a couple of things to talk about. The first thing I would like to get into is talking about toxic people in the music industry. Are there toxic people? Like, how do we identify these toxic people? Like, what are the characteristics we see in people to say, that dude's a toxic dude. That girl, she a toxic
lying.
Chick. Like lying.
Yeah, that's true. What he just said, the lying and the way they act, it's crazy. Like, I could feel it. I tell anybody I dealt with, I'd be like, man, I don't, like the way they acting, I don't feel that. And then they'll be like, oh, they cool. And then later on down the line, they be like, yeah, you was right. Like, yeah.
It took me a minute to learn though. I didn't, I'm thinking you shake somebody's hand and you look them in the eye, you say something that was what it was, Oh my gosh.
You took people at your word.
Or even the whole friendly aspect, being cool and being friendly and nice to people. I thought that was genuine. I thought this is a human trait, but you're treated based on what you can do for somebody, what somebody thinks that you can do for them, unfortunately. And that's one of the biggest toxic traits that I see, the whole phoniness. And if you can do something for me, I'm going to treat you a certain way.
Right.
Where you just treat everybody good, period, just because they're human. You feel me? But, and then they got the whole story of, well, you never know, the intern could be the president one day, so treat him right, but it's like, it don't matter. Just if the intern stay the intern forever, just treat them right.
Yeah.
Because it's just the right thing to do. Because they're human. Don't treat them right because you think they could later on it'll pay off for you.
I mean, but we live in a society where it's a dog eat dog world, right? People want to take advantage of other people so that they can achieve and that they can excel, right? So when you think about this whole music landscape, I think that's the interesting thing is that we have the mentality of stating that we want to treat people fairly and that we should treat people with dignity and respect, but that ain't really how it works. That's not from my experience. I don't think that's really how it works. But it's the impact of that toxicity that permeates itself throughout the music industry. Because it's like, I understand this dude is a VP of a major record label, so I really got to watch what I say and how I say it. And if they say that. I was talking in one of my first interviews that I did on this show like 3 years ago was with Murcielago, the Machine Monster, right? And he was like, if the person say the sky is gray or purple, the sky is purple. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. He was like, but it's purple. These you want to get ahead in this music industry, it's purple. And what you gonna say about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's for me how toxic people operate within this industry. Yeah, they definitely do be lying though. But I find the issue is that we never call them out. Nobody ever calls them out on being a toxic person. That's like, for an example, if Yohance was a toxic, I mean, he's not though. But let's just say he was a toxic person, right? I'm not going to say anything to you about it though, Brian. Like, why? Because, I mean, we just don't do that. We just don't talk bad, or we don't call other people out based upon their behaviors.
That's very interesting.
We don't.
Well, the thing about it is, it's kind of, I can see both sides of that though, because you got the whole chatty patty situation, the gossip. Are you gossiping? Are you trying to be productive and help somebody? Or are you just talking about somebody? Or if their experience is going to be different, I might go with the homie and he cool with me. I ain't never seen none of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, but I get it though. If you don't call people out, that's funny. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about shady stuff. And what I said to him was, we got to call people out on this kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, that ain't my nature though. I'm a real diplomatic person. I'll just leave you alone. I'll leave you alone. Won't talk to you no more.
That's like me.
Yeah, just be done with you. I'm not gonna call you out, because if it's working for you, God bless. Go take that somewhere else.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna deal with that. But at the same time, if this person isn't called out, maybe nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect. So maybe they need to get called out so they can look within themselves. Maybe change. Maybe they didn't realize they were toxic. Sometimes we don't realize we're toxic. Sometimes, so
that's true.
So I get what you're saying. Maybe call them out, but it's like, I don't know. It's
like
hard.
If you're a toxic person, I'm gonna have a conversation with you about how that impacts me personally. I'll have that conversation. I'll be like, yo, Yohance, look, I'm saying Yohance, like, he ain't toxic though. I'm just like, but still, Yohance, look, we got to have a conversation, bro. I don't like how you did this, and this. But a lot of people they still don't even do that because they want to ruffle them feathers.
Exactly. If we got to deal with each other, obviously you got to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
But if I don't got to deal with you, I'm just going to stop dealing with you. I'm just going to, and I'm not going to talk bad about you. I'm going to let people going to find out. I don't got to be the one sounding the horn. People going to find out soon enough about your character. I believe in God and the universe. And I believe that like what goes around comes around. And you keep doing that, the saying, God don't like ugly. Like, okay, the world going to know at some point how you acting, but maybe it's not, maybe you should call people out. So I don't know. It's kind of, I'm always like, I hate people. Not, I get real upset when people like try to blast people online. I think that's corny. Like, but at the same time, it's like I'm starting to rethink that a little bit. You know, maybe it's a time and place for that. You know,
I think it's a time and place to shine light on the behavior, shady behavior, right?
Yeah.
Toxic behavior that people display, especially in this industry, because I forgot who I was talking about, but Issa Rae, in my last conversation with somebody, we were talking about Issa Rae and how she was like, this whole music industry is just full of snakes. Like, it's full of snakes, it's full of crooks, it's full of robbers, it's full of just toxic. That's so crazy though, right? You think an industry that does what we do, that there's so much toxicity in the music, not in the music and in the actual professionalism. I'll say the culture of the music from a business perspective is like, I got to make sure I get over on you. I got to make sure I get over on you so I can get my stuff. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yep.
But we live in a very competitive environment, right?
That's exactly how I go. What you just said, yeah.
Well, that's what we were talking about yesterday. I was talking to a big music producer, Texan, yesterday and today, and the issue was we were debating about production credits. You know, I'm a big believer in like, if you weren't actually in the room producing the song, you're just a songwriter. You're not a producer. But this producer though, who has credits and platinum plaques, right. he made a good point. He said, but people use that as an excuse to cut out producers because they don't they keep them out the room, keep them out the room on purpose so that they can like take credit from them.
That's right.
And I'm like, and that happens all the time, and it's like that's very shady.
That's crazy though, right?
It's very shady. And I'm like, well, we got to call it out because I'm a firm believer in like, you are a songwriter, and if you're not there, if you just send in the beat to somebody and you hear the song when it come on the radio, but you had nothing to do with making the song, and you really didn't produce the song. That's kind of how I feel.
Right,
about
you just made the beat.
But if I'm a lot of A&Rs, because I've seen this happen, a lot of A&Rs will like kind of keep you away, and so they can get their little production on, and they didn't do nothing to the beat, but they kind of like we're in a room, and so now they're getting some points off the record and all that to keep that happens.
I ain't gonna call. Look, we just talking about that, calling people out, right? I'm about to say, I ain't gonna call nobody out.
No, listen, I know. I remember 18 years ago, I think, when did Chris Brown come out? 2005?
Yeah, something around there.
Yeah. I had a good friend on that first. Basically, some of that happened. You know what I'm saying? Well, he got this credit, but he had to share it with people who didn't do anything on these records.
I'm like.
And it was a real big issue, and we had to talk him off the leg because he was ready to just crash out over this. I'm like, bro, you're just getting started, so just don't crash out, over this. But it was, so I don't know, but so calling out, but at the same time, no, you can call somebody out and blackball you and they'll push you aside.
And see, that's the issue, right? That's part of the issue is that we deal with toxic people, but there's a consequence to it, especially for that person who may be, upper echelon in the hierarchy within this music world. You deal with a famous producer and they have toxic behavior. You get into the studio with them and they are disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? They even heard people. I mean, take for an example, right? You read the Timbaland book? What's
That's
the book
crazy.
called?
I should know he has a book.
Oh yeah, Timbaland has a book. What's the
wow? I don't know.
What's the book
I'm like you. I didn't know that.
I didn't know he had a book. I'm a big. Is it an audio book? Because I'm a big audio book guy.
They probably got an audio.
I got an Audible subscription.
Yeah. They probably got it. What's the name of the book? Timbaland
sponsorship from Audible.
book. It's like his biography. The Emperor Sound came out in 2015.
Wow,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, this mug right here.
I'm slipping on that.
You know what? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Okay, I saw that.
Yeah, called the Emperor Sound. But in the book, he shares his story about Devontae, and
man,
he said in the book he said that like they will come in, line up the producers, and like, what you gonna do today, right? And be punching people, smacking people, all types of crazy stuff. Like, that's a toxic environment.
Yeah, you ain't gonna smack me.
I'm gonna tell you right now. But what you gonna? But Yohance, what you gonna do
when it's Timbaland at that time? Yeah,
when it's Devontae, not and these are documented stories, y'all. Like, we ain't saying something y'all don't know.
Stevie J, I think Genuine talked about it before.
Genuine talked about
it. Missy talked about it before.
Missy, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Like it was real. It was crazy. Yeah. Oh, Timbaland, he lays out the whole.
I hate
real
that too. And I
toxic.
love Devontae. I love Jodeci.
I
so
love
much,
Jodeci.
Man.
I
So
love
much.
Devontae. I love
So
the way he
much,
produces his
man.
music.
And
But
isn't that sad when you hear about your heroes? You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to hear that he put those people through one of the best music producers in the history, one of the best rappers, best singers. And that's why they end up leaving. That's why they we gotta get out of here.
I know Missy left first, and then she grabbed Timberland. And
Missy left first.
And like, what you gonna do, Tim? And they started doing their own thing.
I remember the Above the Rim soundtrack, one of the best soundtracks in my opinion in history. There's a song on there called "Blown Away," and I just a couple of years ago realized when the guy rapping, he said something to Tim and Devontae. I never noticed he said Tim, so I'm wondering did Timbaland produce that with Devontae?
You know he did. Yeah.
I never.
Well,
because the credits say produced by Devontae Swing and the Swing
right.
Mob or whatever.
You know why, right? Because Timbaland talks about in the book, once again, toxic environments from people who are higher up in because at that time Jodeci was like the pinnacle.
Oh, it's breaking my heart, man. I love Devontae Swing so much, man.
Like, they were the pinnacle of R&B. Jodeci, right? Who was touching Jodeci at that time, right? And trust me, I love Boyz II Men.
It was the rivalry, Boyz II Men and Jodeci. They were rivals.
I love Boyz II Men. I've seen them in concert many times. I got a friend who's in the group 112. Like I've seen like all these groups I love, right? But Jodeci was at that.
That's the gold standard right there.
Gold standard. They were bam, Jodeci.
They were street. But anyway, man, that breaks my heart, man.
But Devontae stole all their stuff. And Timbaland lays it out. He was like all the production that they would produce and they were working on it together. But when the album came out, it said produced by Devontae
Swing. If you smell any smoke, it's just me.
Yes.
And the homies getting blown away.
Yeah. I'm sure
that song was hard.
I'm sure Timbaland produced it.
And then he said, some, all respect to Tim and Devontae for making a track that's fat. Now it's time to get paid. So pass to Jay.
That's right. But they all were under Swing Mob.
Swing Mob.
So Swing Mob produced it.
Swing Mob.
You are a in-house producer.
Well, allegedly, like Devontae was trying to be like Suge at Death Row, you know, employing those strategies, you know, to his people. But
even to something like that, I mean, that's the environment that was created around Death Row Records was very toxic.
Yeah.
Behavior were very toxic. And what are you gonna do? Like I think that's the
CEOs of blood, so you already know what time it was.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, what are you going to do in that situation when your career is in somebody else's hands and they are creating a toxic environment? Now, those are extreme examples.
Yeah.
But what about the very subtle ones? The micro type of toxic behaviors that people pick up? You know, and we were talking about that on the podcast with I had Kelby on here, Kelby Canick over at Making It
Magazine.
Yeah. And we were kind of talking about, you know, some of that type of behavior that in Atlanta, it's like, yeah, we know each other, right? When we see each other, but we don't really deal with each other, nor do we really call each other out on. And I just think it's so crazy that we just allow these behaviors to take place. Like, what do you think that does to like up and coming artists who are trying to make it in this music industry when it's such a toxic behavior and a toxic, I don't know, culture?
I think it's a new day and age though now. I think that if people can get on board with like the fact that you don't need nobody, pretty much.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? You don't need anybody. Like you don't have to get walked in the door. You can go directly to your consumer. You know, in college, I'm a marketing major. They call it vertical integration. You know what I'm saying? You can be a distributor, you can be a manufacturer, you can go right to the direct to consumer, straight up. So you don't even need these people if you can understand that and embrace that. Like a La Russell or even a Russ.
Oh yeah, he's
like
crazy.
You can go directly to your consumer in your pocket. I can't get my phone. I zipped it up, but yep, you got it right there.
Everything in this phone.
Yes, your whole distribution network, marketing team. It's all there. So if you're willing to be patient and put in the work, that's another can of worms. But if you're willing to be patient, put in the work, which a lot of artists aren't. You know what I'm saying?
They want to get the bag today.
Yeah, but if you can understand, can't nobody blackball me. I mentioned blackballing earlier. It's different now though. Can you blackball me? If I can get to the people who my music is intended for, now and you ain't gonna treat me any kind of way.
Right.
I'm not gonna put up with it.
Yeah, because the gatekeepers of old pretty much. I think they're still there. I think there are still some there, but you have the ability to kind of work through and around those gatekeepers.
But if you can like get your mind to set realistic expectations, like real, like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna be a millionaire, but if I can make a living off doing what I love,
right.
But most people with pride and ego, you know, I'm 44, man. They say youth is wasted on the young.
Mm-hmm.
But now you couldn't tell me this at 24. You know what I'm saying? But now I understand it now. Like, yeah, like if I can make, 6 figures, I'm straight. You know what I'm
straight.
And I'm doing what I love. I actually love what I'm doing. I love it. It gives me joy. I could do a show, 30 people, 50 people, whatever, but it's a good time. I made a little money.
Mm-hmm.
My bills is paid. My kids are good. And I'm rapping, I'm singing or whatever.
Right.
I'm engineering, I'm producing. But when you're young, man, you want it.
They want the world.
You want
they
it
want
big,
to be,
man.
They want it big. They want to be superstars.
Yeah.
Because their heroes are superstars. And so they want to be superstars just like that. But it's so crazy. My wife and I were talking today about just entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, some people ain't really cut out for it. They want to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But they don't have the discipline, the habits, the behaviors, the consistency, the competency to be an entrepreneur. But they see so many people do it, and it's like the buzzword of today.
What do you mean? See people do it? What do you mean by that? On Instagram?
See, that's exactly,
because that's not always
that's not the case.
Accurate. It's not accurate.
But that's the thing. They see.
Yeah.
Because when I say they see, that's where they see it.
I know what you're talking about.
They see absolutely on Instagram. Oh yeah, all day they see the people. Hey, look at me. You want the 5 steps to get to. They see people.
They be fronting.
700,000 followers, not realizing that half of those are kind of paid followers.
Or bots.
No bots or whatever the case is. But they kind of see that and they go, "That's what I think I should have that too," because they got that. And not without really realizing they may not have the capabilities to do that themselves. But I think it's so crazy.
Yeah. If you're watching out there or listening, anything is possible. If you see somebody else do something, you can do it as well.
That's true.
You just got to lock in, and it might not be easy though. And it might not happen tomorrow, but if you can take small steps to get there, it's possible. Mm-hmm. But you got to start. You got to start and make up your mind that I'm going to do this no matter what.
That's right. Regardless of who's there, who may be in your way, who, may try to cause, or derail your journey. Like in that device, there's so many things, but there's so many. See, that's the thing we were talking about. There were so many things people got to learn today. They didn't really have to learn back in the day. So many hats down that they got to wear that, like you say, marketing. Shoot, I don't know about marketing. Well, I mean, I do, but I don't know about marketing.
YouTube, man. YouTube University.
All right.
YouTube will teach you. But see,
everything. Okay, anything you want to know.
But that's something we'll talk about. Like we'll get into that. I
know where you're going with that.
I want to save that.
I know where you're going with that,
brother. Oh my God!
Trust me, I read all the topics, all the questions.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm ready. I'm ready. I know where you're going.
I like real interesting conversations about stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I think toxicity in the music, I think, is a poison. It's an absolute for me. I think it's a poison. I'm gonna call it like it is. It's a poison.
I just leave them folks alone, man. I don't even. I'm like him. I don't deal with it. Like, do what you want to do.
But what about when you can't avoid it?
Yeah, that's the thing. What about when you can't avoid it?
Because let me tell you. Because I'm an entrepreneur as well, serial entrepreneur. But when you get to working with other people in team environments, which you have to do at some point, even though I want to do it all myself. I don't need nobody, but you got to have some people. And what if somebody on a team is just toxic, man?
You're going to have somebody like that.
How do you deal with that?
How do you deal with it?
You can walk away, but you didn't put in blood, sweat, and tears in this, and y'all got certain progress. What do you do then? You know what I'm saying?
Like, you just going to leave them alone? And then you're just going to fire them? You can be like, hey, you fired. Hey, you got to go.
I think you got to have resilience, though. You got to have resilience, because a lot of times people will test you and see if you break.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You just got to have resilience and stick to your guns and be professional. You know what I mean? And just stay solid. Be undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you're undeniable, they're gonna have to stand down.
For sure, that's right.
They're gonna stand down.
Yeah, I think dealing with that's a good point though. Dealing with toxic people that you just can't get away from.
Yeah,
like how do you
can't.
You got to deal with them. I think that's I think that's something that's missing in entrepreneurship in music is leadership. Like I'm a big leadership. I mean, that's what I do on my real job. Like I do organizational development and leadership training. Like I used to travel around the country training frontline leaders all the way to CEOs of all these major Fortune 50, 100 companies, right? That's like how I'm talking now is not how I would talk, in those classrooms with those leaders. So, I was telling Mogul Mala yesterday, I code switch really quick. I mean, I shouldn't have to
Code switch, yeah.
but I would code switch really quick on you, right? And so it'll sound. My name's Brian, so right. So Brian is not a black name, right? I mean, it's technically not, true, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna sound real. Well, golly, there, buddy. Look, we're gonna. I'm gonna code switch on you real fast, but I almost lost my train of thought. But with Mogul Mall, I did lose my train of thought though. I going off on that tangent, I lost it. But we were talking about something the other day. He was sitting in his chair about toxic people. Oh, and leadership.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing is the ability to lead the people on the team. That if you're putting the team together, you have to be able to know how to lead them. And there's a lot of people in here who are entrepreneurs who build teams that don't know how to lead those teams effectively.
They just kind of let it.
They just let it go. They just let it
fester,
do whatever it does. And it's like, oh man, you got to go, bro. You can't be on this team no more. What? And it's like, well, you're the leader of the team. Like, exercise your leadership capabilities.
Yeah.
But a lot of entrepreneurs today, they like entrepreneurship, but they forget about the leadership part. Because sometimes entrepreneurs don't have to work. They don't have, I'll say like direct reports, right? They don't have people working with them.
Yeah.
And so they miss the leadership aspect of that entrepreneurship. But that thing that's interesting, you can't get away from. What happens? You can't get away from it though, man. Like, and that's where leadership comes in.
I think you just stand your ground, man. And I do have personal faith. If you believe in a higher power, man, tap in with your higher power, and it's gonna look out for you. Ain't nobody gonna be able to run you over because you got God on your side, and you standing firm in your skill set and what you're called to do. And they can play if they want to, but
they can play if they want to.
In the short term, it might seem like they're getting over on you, but in the long run, universe will work it out. It'll work itself out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, sometimes you can't avoid it though. You can't, man. And it's a frustrating thing.
Sometimes you got to figure out how to deal with that toxic person. Like, how do I maneuver that?
Got me thinking about work. So never mind.
Oh, brother.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of this stuff is a microcosm of the real world anyway.
Absolutely, 100%.
The same type of stuff, 100%. Backbiting and jealousy and hating on people and just
100%
acting up for no reason.
Like we got full-time jobs. We know exactly how it works. We see it on an everyday basis, right? This supervisor taking credit for this other people's work. These two employees or coworkers are arguing with one another, and one, trying to get over on the other person. They both trying to get to the next level, so they talking about each other behind their back and gossiping. I mean, it's just a reflection of the overall world and how that takes place. I don't think it's anything new within this music industry. I think that it's just a shame that it's here. It's a poison. We got to deal with it, and we're gonna eventually work with people who are toxic in some way. So how do we? And so the question is, how does that then impact somebody's, right? Because we mental health now, right? We like really into mental health.
Yeah.
Like, how does that impact somebody's mental health when you are working in a situation? And I don't think people today are like in that Timberland situation. I don't know. Maybe they may be signed to a label or independent label that's stealing all their money and getting over on them, or having them killed because they want the insurance money. And
oh my gosh, that is dark right there. That is dark,
bruh.
That is dark. I don't know. I just think that to a degree, I don't know if it's mental health or not, but to a degree, people become what they've been the victim of.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and now as far as mental health, I don't know. It can just break down your character. You can be so like mad all the time, so angry,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then depressed, it just turns into a bad person. And then you are kind of I've seen that happen in music as well as the other areas of business. People become what they were victim of.
Oh yeah,
and don't even realize it.
That's right. For the longest time, I told my mom I would never smoke. And then when I went to the military, what did I do? Oh yeah, Newport's and the same brand. Like how? When I came home for leave one day, and she came to pick me up from the airport, I'm like, "Mom, you got a lighter?" She was like, "A lighter? What you need a lighter for?" I was like, "Oh, never mind, I found it." And she was like, "You smoke now? What?" Well, see, and this is the thing I teach leaders is the fact that you pick up the behaviors of the people that you're around the most.
Absolutely,
for sure. Like, if you don't really realize it, you will pick up whether those behaviors are good or bad, but you're going to pick them up. I had my wife was always, she would clown me about this, but I had a friend that when I was working, I used to stop at the gas station and kind of pick up some, treats and take them home, right? Especially like the little lemon loaves that she used to love. And I always stop by the gas station. This dude at the gas station always called me Gary. He'd be like, "Yo, what's good, Gary?" And I'm like, "What's good?" I never corrected him on what my name is. But he always said this phrase, "cool beans." And somewhere down the line, I started saying "cool beans."
For sure.
And my wife was like, "Yo, you sound like Eddie." I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, you saying cool beans and stuff you ain't never used to say before."
And that's funny.
That's because, whoever you hang around with, whether it's good or bad, you're going to pick up those behaviors.
That's crazy.
You mentioned that. That's what I had a train of thought I kind of lost. I was on a tangent when I was just talking a second ago, but I remember now. The mental health aspect is people cope. They get into substances to cope. That's what I was trying to get to.
Sure.
They when you in this toxic situation and you're trying to deal with it, you use other methods to cope. Whether it be maybe women or some kind of drug. That happens a lot in life. Period. Like I didn't realize how many everyday people do drugs to just be around.
Yeah.
You don't know that they just, doing stuff on the side because they're trying to cope.
Especially in today. Especially today with inflation, with housing prices, the market, everything. They just trying to figure out how to make it, how to cope.
I think we gotta I don't know, maybe you might be onto something with the whole calling people out thing because some of this stuff got to stop, man. We gotta make a change, man. Because people, they getting on drugs, they getting fentanyl, they dying, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like
crazy, man.
that these people are bad people. So, not to talk about take that, like toxic environment. You know what I'm saying?
It comes around us. What's in the dark will come to the light.
What's in the dark will come to the light.
It's gonna come.
You got that right.
And they say God don't like ugly. He don't like ugly.
Don't.
So
and nobody says anything. Nobody shuns them. Nobody says anything. Nobody stops doing business with them. None of that. It's just like we're about to have another president who's a criminal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who has toxic behavior. And we're about
it's a topic on your list. Because that's being glorified now. It's like it's being glorified. Like that's cool.
How?
Yeah, I watched it yesterday. I was
watching it today.
I was cracking up.
I was watching it today.
I said, these two clowns is crazy.
I was watching it today.
Yeah,
you could tell Joe wanted to punch him.
Bro, the way Joe Biden was looking half of the time, bro, I didn't know what he was doing. But every time Trump would say something, Biden would be like,
"Yeah, that's
why I said he wanted to punch him." Man.
I saw Lil Duval post this. Lil Duval posted that in like 20 years we're gonna have an AI president, and and it's like, man, it's funny, but it's sad because he might be on.
He might be on something though.
Because at what point are they going to just put like a chip in Biden, like or get him like a robot and just kind of like set him up to just so he can't lose,
Right.
But it's like a team of folks controlling him behind the scene. And we laughing, but it's like
we ain't out.
They old dudes too, like 80 years old. Like that's crazy.
Man, that's crazy. Just, but I mean, think about that. Like, there's a potential that we're about to have a president, a re-elected president.
Yep.
Who is a convicted. He got convicted, right? They convicted him. I mean, he hasn't served any time yet for it or not, but a convicted president.
I think Grover Cleveland was only the president that lost office and was elected again. I believe this will be the second time, but I don't think Grover Cleveland was a felon, though. I don't think
he told you who he was before he got elected. Like the first time, you knew who he was.
You knew who he was
And it ain't no shocker.
But see, that's, and I mean, I don't know. Is that something that's acceptable from people who are toxic? Is the fact that we know that they are and they state that they are in the very beginning. I would rather have somebody do that than to be a closet toxic person.
Well, that's what Kanye said when Kanye was interviewed by Big Boy, when he was wearing the MAGA hat. He would say, "I'd rather somebody call me N-word to my face than that." I get that angle because you can accuse maybe the other side of like being disingenuous with their support of the Black community. You could, some could say that. I'm not saying that, but some could say that. So I understand that, but at the same time, like, code of conduct is important at some level, right?
Code of conduct,
like
is important.
We got children that watch the president and grabbing them by the private parts and just calling people horse face on Twitter. You're president,
right? You're president.
Calling a woman a horse face,
right? Biden was like, I've never heard a president say that he was going to get revenge or whatever the actual. He didn't say revenge, but it was sort of like revenge. Yeah. He's going to vindicate his. Seek vindication. Yeah. Like, I've never heard a president say that. And Trump was like, man, I'm about to get you too. Right? You can see it in his face. He was like, I'm about to get you
so
too.
Clear, and Joe was all over the place.
I don't know what Joe was talking about. But see, I think that's the thing. It's because now it's accepted and it's celebrated.
Toxicity is celebrated. Like, if the president is like clapping back at people, then
it's the leader of the free
everybody.
world.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, come on. I think code of conduct that's my biggest thing, where I probably couldn't support. And I'll just say I probably couldn't support Trump because the code of conduct.
He got
not even the policies. It's just I can't have a president that conduct himself that way.
He got the morals of an alley cat.
Yeah, it's like I think that's I just can't because policy wise, I'm like, I don't know. I don't even really got that many gripes, honestly. But it's just the conduct. I can't.
I don't think I have any gripes with his policies. I don't think I have almost any gripes with Trump's policy. It's just his conduct is the issue.
Same. And you already knew.
You already knew. He already told you the type of person he was. And so to kind of put a bow on this topic, we can talk about the next one. I'll go back to having this conversation with Mogul Mall the other day. We were talking about, I was reading this article, right? You talked about code of conduct, right? And I was reading this article about Kendrick. And the article was that Kendrick did it for the culture, right? And I sat here and I asked Mogul Mall, what does that mean when someone does something for the culture, right? So when I think of culture, right, we work in organizations. When I think of organizational culture, I think about a set of beliefs, a set of habits, a set of pillars that guide the organization that we all abide by, we all live by, that states this is who we are as an this is how we behave as an organization, right? So, but I don't think that's what culture means in this case. And like I told you, I said, I think I'm too far removed to understand what that really means from that perspective of what they're talking about. He did it for the culture. So let's talk about that. So, right. So one of the things I have on here is the issue with culture in music, specifically Black culture.
When I read that question, I'm like, do they know? Did somebody tell them that I'm like, I got strong beliefs on this? Did somebody
Let's
tell
do
them
it
already?
Let's do it.
Because I like,
like, what is that? Explain that to me. What is culture?
You talking about Kendrick or just in general?
Yeah, culture. I don't know, man. As far as like, I don't know. It depends on how you define it. I think everybody might have their own definition. When I think of culture, I think of just, it's not necessarily about the color, about Black people. It's just about like, I mean, obviously Black people are the backbone of the culture, but it's more universal than that. It's about just, the struggle, hip hop. Like, for example, Nas on King's Disease Part 1, his first single was Ultra Black. And don't quote me, because he said, no matter your race, we all are Black. That's what he said. And the lyric, to me, you can interpret it. To me, it just meant that he don't literally mean that if you're not Black, you're Black. What he means is that you're welcome in this culture if you respect the culture, if you respect all people and are a good person, and you're about the causes, equality, freedom, then you with us. And to me, that's the culture. It's just being a good person, equality for everyone, and like, just doing the right thing, you know. And it's obviously, as African Americans in this country, we've been oppressed. So, and we started hip hop, so we're the backbone of it. But I think if you're a good person, you know, it's good versus evil. It's racism. Everybody against racism. So if you on the right side of this, you part of the culture. So when I think of culture, I think it's even deeper than just us as a race. It's just good versus evil, you know. So when Kendrick did it for the culture, I think he did it like, to go back to that culture reference, he did it for just, you know, good people. Because they're trying to say, you know, he's attacking Drake because Drake is mixed. He's a mixed race. It's not about that per se. You know, it's about him trying to act tough. You know, it's about him. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I remember Headline. Drake's, I think it was his second album. I think Headlines was the first single. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, somebody in the comments correct me, but the lyric was something like, "You gonna make me catch a body." So he said something about catching the body in the song.
And knowing Drake ain't catching bodies.
And it's like, immediately I'm like, bruh, no.
Right. You know,
like,
you know you ain't catching bodies.
I think he had on like got black gloves or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, no. Like, no, no, stop that, bro. We don't believe you. Cut it out.
R&B singer.
Right.
Yeah, like, but that's a whole other thing. We can get into it.
But see, that's because people be lying on their albums, right? That's the whole thing.
Well, see, that's my deep views. We can get into that in a minute.
Yeah, he's an actor, but
what'd you say, Yohance?
I said he an actor.
He's Aubrey Graham. He's an actor. He came from Degrassi.
Yeah.
So,
but not to jump ahead, but we care about authenticity. I don't mind the lyrics. I care about you being authentic, and to me, that was not authentic at all. And for you to kind of run around with this whole mob ties thing, I think that's what Kendrick was talking about. I think it don't have nothing to do with the fact that he had mixed races, the fact of how he acted. You know what I'm saying? So,
because a lot of people took it the other way. A lot of people taking that he was attacking him because he was mixed race. Like, you can't say nigga no more, right? Like, but it was cool when Cole said it, and I love Cole. Cole's my guy. Cole's mixed too, right?
But it's not because they're mixed.
But see, that's how a lot of people took it. A lot of people took it because they're mixed. In this case, he's mixed, so you can't say that because you're not full black.
And for
you're not full culture.
One thing I love about Kendrick is like his lyrics like a good movie. You can dissect it and interpret it however you want to. I don't think he can literally say nigga. I don't think he literally. In other words, you can't act like you black or like you for the cause no more. You can't do that no more because we calling you out. We letting you know it's over with for that. So when we don't want to hear you say nigga no more, it just meant like we don't want to. It's a wrap. So when you act like you tough, nigga this, nigga that, no. Yeah. We see through it. I'm calling it out. To me, that's what he meant when he
because we know you're not like, you know, you don't have that persona to be to exude in that type of behavior.
Exactly. So that's what that meant to me. But
I get that.
But culture though.
I've always been curious about that. I've always been curious about culture. When people say, hey, they did it for the culture. What does that mean? They did it for the culture. Like, and then the other part is, right? You stated that it may be different for everybody. Right. But when you go work at XYZ company, you go to work at McDonald's. McDonald's has culture, right? They have, here's our cultural statement. Here's the employee handbook. Here's how we behave and act. And you agree to behave and act this way. And nobody has a different interpretation of what organizational culture is because it's been defined by the organization that you're going to work for. So the question is, if we have culture in hip hop, who defines the standards or the pillars of culture? Yohance, there you go. I'm gonna throw it to Yohance because I asked Mogul Mal the same. I'm like, who defines that?
It's one of them things. Like, oh man, it's kind of hard. Like, you got. I'm not even gonna say Drake, but this is one of them things. It's hard to describe. Like, it's like different time periods. It's a different thing, or with different like teenagers or whatever. It's kind of different. Like I was saying earlier, I said he made a West Coast beat, you know, and then you got. Let me see.
Oh, for it was a tailor-made freestyle.
No. I'm talking about Kendrick. I'm talking about Kendrick. Okay. It's a West Coast beat. You know, that's why I said it's West Coast culture. You know what I'm saying? Because they hear the beat and it make them act a certain way.
Oh yeah, they took off.
Yeah, it took off. It's a West Coast producer.
Oh, then not like us.
Yeah, not like
Yeah.
that.
I know it. It's one of them things you keep hearing it over and over again.
It is in my head though.
Exactly.
But still, the question is like, how is it defined? Like who?
I don't think you can really define it.
Yeah, it's hard.
Definitively. You can't define it definitively because you're going to get a different. Here's the thing: anybody can come into this quote unquote culture, but it's up to us whether we accept it or not. So somebody can say, "Hey, I'm about the culture," and they can look the part, but maybe they're not the part. You know.
But that's the question, right? Like, what are they living up to in the culture if we can't really define what the culture really is?
Well, it's hard.
You can. Brian, you can define it. We create music podcasts can define it.
Oh yeah, we have our own core values and cultures. Absolutely.
So, but it's up to like the end user whether they accept that or not. True. They might disagree. You know,
true.
Drake might not fall in the and I don't know, but Drake might not be a part of the culture according to your definition. But the viewer at home might. So it's like you can't really. It all depends on who's saying it.
Right.
Like KRS-One, for example, KRS-One came out recently and said that Puerto Ricans did in fact help start hip hop. They were a part of it.
I'm sure.
And he's an authoritative figure. But then Lord Jamar came up, and others said no, they didn't help start hip hop. So it's like, but it's like KRS-One is like the teacher. He's like the you got to take his word, right? But in 2024, somebody can stand and be like, nope. I ain't accepting that.
They two different ages, though.
Wait, in my opinion, KRS-One has more authority than Lord Jamar does. In my humble opinion, that's just me.
Yeah.
So I want to take his word over it. But I mean, Lord Jamar got a podcast. I mean, he's been more popular post Brand Nubians than he was in Brand Nubians. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you one verse he of his, and that was on Tribe Called Quest, The Business, on Midnight Marauders album. Other than that, I can't tell you a verse of his, but he's classic album. But shout out to Tribe Called Quest going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. Shout out to them.
Yo, for real?
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm gonna be tuned in on HBO Max because they always show it. So I'm proud of them. Eric B and Rakim didn't make it this year, but hopefully they'll make it next year. They were nominated.
Oh, okay.
As well. But anyway,
you can't let too many of them in there.
That's a whole nother story. But
rappers in there.
Yeah, but I forgot what I was. So KRS-One, he should be the gold standard. So if he says Puerto Ricans were a part of hip hop from the beginning, he's an authoritative figure in the culture, right? So he should take his word. But no, somebody could challenge him, and it's a big mess now.
Yeah, it's a big mess.
So in other words, you can't really define culture because everybody's going to disagree and like going to argue over it. So it just depends on who says it.
But he was there in the beginning, like around that
Lord
time.
Jamar was there too, apparently.
Lord Jamar was there too.
So
Lord Jamar is not a young. Well,
I know he ain't young.
I ain't saying he old.
It's like KRS-One is older than him. You know what I'm saying? So
do you know that for sure?
One thing, I always look.
I'm a stickler for accuracy.
Me too.
And he might be older than him, but I venture to say not by a whole lot, probably.
Now we're about to find out.
Yeah, go ahead and find out.
KRS-One 58.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm making is that like if KRS-One can't be the definitive culture, who is the culture?
Lord Jamar 55.
Yeah, so
but it's only like a couple years,
3 years. I mean, so they literally right there.
Yeah, they right there.
Grand Poobah and Sadat X, and they're all there the same.
Yeah.
So if KRS-One, to my point, if KRS-One can't be a voice for the culture, if he get challenged, then how can we define the culture? Then if he ain't the culture, who is the culture? So it's like,
right?
How can we? So it's just hard to define.
And that's crazy true. You speaking about the beginnings of hip hop, and in the interview the other day, I asked. When Mogul Mal was talking about MCing, he was like, the 4 pillars of hip hop. So then we got into talking about, pillars of hip hop. Okay, so there are pillars that we've established that we have indicated that make up hip hop: MCing, breakdancing, graffiti. Right? See, people always leave out the graffiti. Can't leave out the graffiti. And then the last one's out of my head. DJing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are pillars of the hip hop culture, right? We understand those. So I said, when you say we're doing it for the culture, are we doing it for those? MCing? And that's what he said. He said, yeah, because Kendrick is representing what true lyricism and MCing really is about, as far as being an artist. But I'm like, I don't think that's what this article what I was reading was talking about.
You can get 5 hip hop quote unquote thought leaders and get 5 different definitions of the culture.
Absolutely.
Probably. So it's kind of hard to. I think that I don't think we should get worked up over the definition of culture, honestly, because it's gonna be a long day.
That's why I can't.
So here's the other part then. If we have our own interpretations of culture and what that is, do we leave it up to other people to define what it is? Record labels, radio stations, specifically record labels, because record labels are usually the ones who are in media stereotyping and commercializing Black music in certain lights, right? You turn the news on, boom, no, this rapper did this. We got rappers now we're trying to use rap lyrics against people's, in crime to convict them on certain types of things.
I can't wait to talk about that. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
speaking of that,
if we can't define it, then other people define it for us.
Like you got like Young Thug. That's a type of situation you talking about. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
I'll talk about it after the podcast.
He's like,
I'm not gonna talk about it now
because they're not gonna come call me to come.
Yeah, they ain't gonna call me and
sequester me to be testimony. Do you, Yohance, place your hand on the Bible? Do you?
Back up. Back up.
Yo, back up. I actually haven't watched any of the cases, but I caught clips and them things are funny. Yeah. My man was like, yo, I was in special ed. You got to talk to me in simple.
This is gonna be a movie one. It's gonna be a movie one.
It's gonna be a movie.
It's gonna be a movie.
It's gonna be a movie.
It's gonna do very well too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But to your point though, keep the microphones on. Keep recording the podcast. Keep your voice out there because you can't let others define what the culture is. Even though you can't, we might argue and bicker as far as KRS-One, Lord Jamar arguing about this and that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But at least we're a part of it and actually debating it. But don't just be silent. Keep the microphones on. Keep recording your podcast. Use your voice. Because that's why I had to start a podcast, because I got to get my opinions off, because I got something to say, and I feel like so everybody should say what they want to say, you know what I'm saying, and just put it out there. So
free speech.
Don't let nobody define,
Right. And I think that's the issue, though. I think there are entities that are defining what it truly is, because we see the commercialization of hip hop music, hip hop specifically, not R&B, not jazz, not soul, not hip hop. There's a commercialization of hip hop that is perpetrated within media that is stereotypical, negative. Half of these rappers who are talking about half of the stuff that's on their album, they ain't even doing half that stuff.
Before we get to that, did y'all hear about Paramount? How they are shutting down like a good amount of your content. I found out from Rob Markman, he hosts the Genius Show. He was on MTV. Yeah. He had a long post about how Paramount is taking down all MTV's content. So online on the MTV.com website, all the Yo MTV Raps, all the Rap Fix, they're taking everything down. And Rob Markman, his point was that all the archives of all our great interviews and all that are just going to be erased, are going to be gone. And then in his comments, you had a lot of people giving, like, I think Warren G said something about we need to start our own, that. Mm-hmm. And I guess the point is, when you let the powers that be like take ownership of stuff, they can do it. They can cut your water off. So we need to have our own stuff. We need to have our own, podcasts, video shows, and take ownership of it. Sign better deals, because it is a travesty that, like, and hopefully enough fuss can be made of this that they'll change course and maybe like let somebody like Jay-Z or somebody buy off TV Raps and restore the stuff, But to your point, when you let others control the narrative and document the culture, it's gonna erase all of
that's crazy.
All of MTV Raps off the internet. That's crazy.
My man, he was like,
what was that? Ed Lover?
Who was that? Fab Five Freddy? Was that Fab Five or Ed Lover? I think it was Ed Lover. Yeah, I think it was Ed Lover. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
it's like we're just gonna wipe it out.
That's really crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. But to your point though, as far as the rap lyrics, I think that they shouldn't be doing what they're talking about in the music. You know what I'm saying?
They should not.
They should not. No, but I would defend their right to make the music, because I think that we need a culture change. And I've been saying this for years. I said it on the Free Game podcast. I said it on my podcast. I've been saying this for years. I've been saying it on my Instagram, my Twitter. I've been saying it everywhere.
Say it here.
And I'm a scream this until I'm no longer here or until it changes, whichever comes first. That as a culture, I'm using the word culture again.
Yeah.
As a people, as a culture, whether it be black people, hip hop culture, whatever it is, we have to stop putting expectations that artists are living their raps. We got to stop that because it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And they should reserve. Here's the thing. We care about authenticity.
Right.
We want to know that it's real. We don't want you to still be doing it because you're an entertainer. I think that we should stop. And I think some of this may be the powers that be controlling this too, with the insurance stuff you're talking about. But we should have the same expectations on the Rick Ross and the Young Thug that we do on Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, because
that's right.
Just like I love Scarface and Goodfellas, I love Rick Ross. Spice One was one of my favorites growing up, and he killed 10 million people on every single song. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, he got shot up a lot in real life too. That's pretty bad. But that's the thing, though. It was a big thing about in the 90s being a studio gangster.
Right.
So you had to prove yourself. We had to cut that out, man. You know, we care about you knowing what you're talking about. Maybe you lived it in the past, or maybe you've been around people that lived it, you know. But we want you to mature and say, you know what? Okay, I'm a musician now. I want Rick Ross to come out and say, or whoever else come out and say, 21 Savage. I think he said it recently. Like, look, I come from this. This is what I did, but I don't do that now. I'm not killing nobody right now. Right. This is not, you know, I can talk about it because I know what I'm talking about, but I am not. But the thing about it is they're afraid they're going to lose their career if they come out and say this is not real. But the problem is, and rest in peace to one guy in Tampa, the guy that died the other day, Fulio, got shot up the other day. Yeah. These rappers are racing to show you that they're living their lyrics, and it's stop. Like, no, this is entertainment. Like,
because it's causing them to exit this world quicker than when they should.
Right. But I think the biggest point of contention that I argue with people about is that they say they should stop rapping about it, and I'm like, but if that's the way to feed their family, if they, you know, and if they like, and if they really know about the struggle and they can talk about it in a clever way, that's fine. But they got to be. And shout out to PZ, Icewear Vezo, my Detroit rappers. I heard them on Gilly and Wallow about 2 years ago. Come on and say what I'm saying. But the thing about it, them clips didn't go viral. I reposted them, but they didn't go viral. Where they said, look, we not living this stuff. We used to live it, but we not living this. We rapping, but we not living it. And you stupid if you are living it. You're dumb. You know, this is entertainment. We want to entertain you talking about where we came from, but we don't live this life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that didn't go viral. You
no,
know what
of
I'm
course
saying?
not. It's positive.
It didn't go viral, but it's like, it should. I think if every rapper stood up and just said, look, we ain't, you know, I used to do that, or maybe I did do that, or I got a cousin that did that. You know, like Rick Ross, for example. Let's just talk about Rick Ross. Rick Ross,
sure,
corrections officer, right?
Because I live down the street.
Yeah, I just drove by. Corrections officer, right? Did he do all that stuff? I don't know, but guess what? When he raps, though, I feel he know what he's talking about. I feel it.
That's right.
I feel it, and I feel, you know, and he probably didn't do that stuff. I don't know, but I believe him when he knew somebody. I believe him though.
Right.
But it'll be foolish for him to walk around trying to sell cocaine and put out contracts on people. It'd be ridiculous.
Right now. Because he don't do that.
No, he doesn't. He's a businessman, but it's like, sometimes I fear, I love him a lot, his music, but I fear that he wants to get that persona that he's doing. And it's just like, we got to cut that out because people in the real world are losing their lives over this stuff. And I think he got shot at a few times. He got shot at a couple times. It's like,
oh yeah, I read his book, so I know.
We got to.
Oh, he got a book?
Oh yeah.
I did read that book.
No,
I did read that book.
He got two. Hey, he got 2 books.
He got 2 books. I haven't read it.
I read both of them, man. I listened to both of them on Audible.
Yeah, okay. Same as me, Audible. Yeah,
but see, I like to actually just read them.
But am I off there? Like, what do y'all think about that?
No.
Because I argue with folks till I'm blue in the face to defend rappers' right to rap about whatever you want to rap about. My thing is, don't live it and let the kids know that you're not living it. It's entertainment.
Like it's just entertainment. That's it. It's entertainment.
Because you don't expect Al Pacino to be letting off rounds.
He's not sitting in a room full of a table full of coke, which everybody try to model themselves after. Like, I'm gonna be I'm Scarface.
It's cool though. It's cool.
Like,
I had a poster.
Everybody got the poster,
and it was cool though. But I never tried to sell cocaine or kill nobody.
I mean, but we saw what happened to Tony though. Like, do we want to live that life?
Yeah.
Like in his house with the
Pool
table
of
full
blood.
of the table full of cocaine. And who's coming in the house though?
Yeah.
People. And
Sosa.
he's like, say hello to my little friend, brrr, right? So
Yeah.
we don't want to live that life. I got a family. I'm trying to come home.
Which, to your point though, hip hop back in the day, even NWA, they told both sides of the coin, you know, on their record. And I remember Phil Donahue had Dr. Dre on. It was Dr. Dre, AMG, and they even said, "We ain't living this. This is entertainment." You know,
it's entertainment.
But again though, Dre is a studio gangster. Remember Eazy's Carbon Studio? You know, Real Cop and CDGs, he's a studio gangster. So my point is, we just gotta, like, in the culture, we gotta stop expecting these rappers to perpetuate their rhymes because it's causing toxicity in our community. People are dying over it, but that doesn't mean they gotta stop. Because 21 Savage, I work out to 21 Savage, you know, and he's real aggressive. Talking about his chopper and walk a nigga down. You know, I run miles to that. You know, I'm pumping it up.
Yeah, you pumping it up. You're like, oh yeah.
To me, it's just like, it's no different. I love Heat. Heat was my favorite movie. Heat had a high body count. The movie Heat. Yeah.
Oh, the movie Heat was
one of my favorite. The body count in that movie is ridiculous.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I'm a well-adjusted human, I think. You know, I'm fine. You know, but I don't expect Val Kilmer and Robert De Niro to be killing everybody.
Right, and they're not. They are portraying a particular role.
Yeah,
and acting that role
somebody
out
tried
in
to
the movie.
portray it in real life.
Right, but that's the thing, is that we expect, and it's only rappers though, to be living that life. Do we expect Gene Simmons from Kiss to live that life? Do we expect him to be what he portrays himself to be? Or do we expect Ozzy Osbourne? Or do we expect, you know,
I think
Alice Cooper or Marilyn Manson?
But I think these rappers don't do themselves any favors because they don't come out and say, look, this is entertainment.
Because when you see them on Instagram, what they doing?
And that's how they get in trouble. Like, look at the Young Thug trial right now.
Exactly.
These labels saying they shouldn't use rapper lyrics, or rappers shouldn't be telling them it's real. Rappers should come out and say, this is entertainment.
Yo, this is entertainment, bro. Like they should do what they see in front of like the Joe Budden podcast.
Yeah.
This is for entertainment purposes only. None of the things that we say here are true. And it's like it's not
but
true.
Rappers feel like, and I will admit though, like when 50 Cent first came out, you know, 2002, 2001,
man,
he's a real gangster, y'all.
Yeah,
he and there was this mystique about him, like this dude he's real. He ain't fake, he real, and that made him more popular.
Yeah.
So in our culture, we gotta, unfortunately, the more real we think it is, the more popular it's gonna be. That's kind of unfortunate.
That's right. So in this conversation, right, the question that I have here to talk about that specifically is, what pressures do Black artists face to conform to certain images or themes for commercial success? How do record labels and media contribute to these pressures? As an example, how many videos have we seen of Black artists standing on tables in record label meeting rooms rapping while everybody's sitting around looking at them like, who's going to say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to portray this anymore, right? Because it sells. People want to hear me talk about this. I may not be living it, but people want me to talk about it. And so now what happens if I change? What happens if I start talking about the things that I'm currently doing now as a 40-year-old rapper? Am I going to lose my audience? Is that going to take money out of, from my, wallet, from my family if I start? So I got to conform. I got to still do what the expectation is, even though I may or may not be living that lifestyle.
And the insurance policies, in and of itself, is nothing wrong with the insurance policies. But the evil part to me comes into play is because they don't have nothing to lose if this artist crash out because they got insurance on them. I'm not saying that they hoping they die and signing them to get what it is they ain't gonna be hurt if they die because they got insurance on them. And that's the part where they can just, okay, he crashed out, bring the next one up. He crashed out, bring the next one up. And that's just kind of like, nah, man, we gotta cut that out. We gotta stop that.
So you see 3 stacks, one for rap to playing the flute.
He was like, I'm safe.
just saying, yeah.
He was like, I'm safe.
He can't rap like in the current situation. He can't rap because Big Boy's still in it, but his mindset is in a totally different place. He wanted to play the flute, and that's what he's doing. He having concerts playing the flute.
Yeah, but but how many rappers do we see out here today that may not be living that lifestyle, going home to their families every day, going to church on Sunday, living the regular normal life, but have to rap this way because that's what people expect, and that's what I'm signed to this label. That's what they expect. That's what they pushing. Oh, I want to talk about this in my album. You're not talking about that. No. You don't control your actual album. We need these songs. And then radio is pushing the same songs. So it's like there's a lot of artists who conform. They capitulate and they give in. They say, you know what? This is what I got to do to make it. Then this is what I got to do.
How many rappers though have long-term success doing that though?
Today, not a lot.
Because even like Jay-Z and Nas, for example, like I love the Nas Hit Boy run. They had 6 albums they did in a couple years, and it's real mature. It's real mature.
Real mature.
It's very rare on all 6 albums you will hear him talk about shooting somebody, and if it is, it's in the context of a 50-year-old man. It's done right. You know what I mean? So whereas it was a little more aggressive. Nas never been Spice One killing people, but he was a little more aggressive in the earlier days. You know what I'm saying? But it's appropriate. Same thing with Jay-Z. When he does his album. So I don't know, man. I just think that we gotta stop putting pressure on the rappers though.
Yeah.
Putting pressure to to be that way.
Well, do we? But that's interesting.
Because like I said,
that's interesting.
When 50 Cent came out, part of his mystique was that he was the real deal.
He wore a bulletproof vest.
He wore a bulletproof vest.
You know what I'm saying? And
he was dangerous.
He got shot a couple years ago.
Yeah,
he got shot 9 times.
He had active beef with Supreme, from New York, and it was really crazy, So like, I don't know, man. It's a real dangerous time.
Yeah, I was like, do we put the pressure on them?
I think so. Because these rappers...
As consumers?
Absolutely. Because, for example... I did my little deep dive when Fulio passed away. Rest in peace again. But I did my little deep dive on Twitter. I was on there for a couple hours. And apparently, the guys he was beefing with put out a diss record immediately when he died, And apparently, he made a video, you're urinating on somebody's grave, that died. And, they do this to get the views, And it's like, let me show you about his life. I'm about to go to his grave and, do this. And, he made a song about killing people. And it's just kind of like, the fans are egging it on. Trust me, if that stuff didn't go viral, they wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it. And they know they're not living that life.
Who's making it viral? But these kids are going to crash out trying to live it.
Let me tell you this. I got a phone call a couple days ago from someone. It was like, yo, I need you to listen to this. I think this artist is dope. I was like, all right, bet. Let me listen to the artist right now. I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in 3-4 months. My idea of dope is probably different than this person's idea of dope, right? Probably different. But see, that's the thing. But dope is still dope. And that's what I had to tell this person. I was like, dope is still dope. I don't care if you're 9 or 90. If you dope, you are dope.
Yeah.
I can tell instantly, yo, that's dope. Even if you just a mumble rapper.
I think Kodak Black is dope.
But it's dope. I didn't like Panda for a long time by Designer. But now, I would listen to bro, I'll listen oh, this is dope. But she played me this kid, 15-year-old kid, and played me his music. And this kid was like, yeah, nigga, I'm putting you in the body bag and kitchen blowing your face out. I'm about to run up on you, get the body. And I'm like, yo, hold up. This kid's how old? 15. Is this kid doing this? No, this kid is a nice kid. Good in school.
Yeah.
But this is what he rapping about though.
Yeah, somebody gonna try to come test it.
And that's the thing. Somebody go, oh, this is what you rap about. This is you saying that you tough.
Authenticity is everything.
Authenticity.
Because if he was authentic and really came from that, he wouldn't, it wouldn't be as nefarious because it's like, okay, I'm not doing that no more, but I'm still from that, so you ain't gonna come try to test me. But I'm not on that now. I'm not on that though. I'm not on that. I'm on some positive stuff. But these days, these kids though, they want to show you that they want to show you. They want to show you, and they egging it on.
Right.
These kids, and the sad part about it, a lot of these kids be kids from the suburbs, on there egging it on.
Yeah.
Because it's what sells.
Yeah, man. So
it's what sells.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah. So here's the question as we move into the next part. Do you think it's because of the predatory nature of music? that the predatory nature that we have today in music, do you
You
think
mean
that
behind the scenes? You mean behind the scenes?
behind the scenes?
That contributes to it, yeah. Because like I said, it's a no, it's a no lose with them.
Yo, I'll give you you get this stack right here. You rap about the stuff you rapping about. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Right.
Because like I said, they got the insurance. So if they crash out, they're gonna just collect the policy, go to the next one. It's a no lose for them. You know?
So what do you think of some of like the major predatory practices? I mean, because the music industry is a predatory industry, whether we realize or not, it is a predatory industry. And we are in this industry, right? And so what are some of those behaviors that we see that are predatory, right? And it could be, for me, in robbing people of their just due, of their rights, their royalties. You mentioned earlier, we're gonna keep these people out of the room because we don't need them to be on the song. To me, that's predator. That's shiesty right there, right? Yeah. I mean, but it's like, from both sides, the predatoriness from both sides to say, "Oh, we'll give you this if you go rap about the things that you're doing," or we don't want to give you none of this because we want to rob you of this, right? I mean, we see it in contracts. We see it in, which I always tell people, go hire a lawyer. Like, as soon as you get a contract, hire a lawyer. Sometimes they don't even give you the, and I'm talking about, somebody who's getting signed to like a label, or even like a mid-level label, right? An indie label. There's still predatory things in those labels. Yeah. That, oh, I didn't know I got a bad. Like, how did you not know that you got a bad deal?
Well, that's easy. I mean, people want a deal so bad that they don't. The terms ain't, that big of a deal. We'll renegotiate later. We'll fix that later. You know what I'm saying?
You're not fixing that.
Let me just get let me just get on and get the leverage. Because let me shoot some bail to the labels a little bit. Let me defend them a little bit here, because it depends on how you get to the label. If how much leverage you have. If you have very little leverage in any situation, you're gonna have to take some stuff that might not be the best for you,
right?
But even within that, you got to be savvy enough to make sure there are things in place that when the leverage does come back to me, you can remember. But even if it is a bad deal, though, if you can just get the right leverage, though, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not saying another word on the microphone. I ain't going nowhere until we redo this thing. If you got enough leverage, so to a degree, like sometimes, I'm not saying take a bad deal. What I'm saying is sometimes, like you can bet on yourself. You know what I mean? And if the label's taking all the risk, there's a place. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. There's a place to a degree that, we're gonna make this in our favor right here. Unfortunately, though, that doesn't come into play because most of these days they don't want to develop artists anyway. So they're getting artists that already got motion going, but these artists not smart enough to know I got my own motion going. I got leverage, so let me just leverage it. But here's the secret part, though. It don't be the labels. It be the middleman.
It do.
That's shady because I'm gonna find this kid, get him a record deal. I'm not gonna tell him like what's really going on.
Told you, see?
I'm gonna make it in my favor here. So the label was just kind of like, it was here. We told Dante what it was right here, but Dante then got Lil JoJo over here and gave him a bad didn't tell Lil JoJo what's going on. That he owned part of the record. You ain't do nothing, but he got all the relationships.
Right.
He had all the relationships in the whole thing. So
man, and
the middleman be
it ain't like this is new.
Of course not. Of course not.
What we're talking about is not something that's new. Like this scene played itself out in the New Edition story on that aired on TV, right?
Yeah.
Like
Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport.
Fast Break Records, something like that.
Yeah. Fast Break Records. He was like, "Yo, who's Fast Break Records?"
Yeah.
And Tank was like, "Man, get in my office, man. We're gonna talk about." He was like, "Who is this? We signed a Gary?" Yeah, you signed it, but he knew. See, that's the thing, right? The record label was like, "Hey,
exactly." Like,
but he knew.
Yeah.
That they were signed to Fast Break Records. That it was Gary's record label. That New Edition was signed to them, and he was robbing them.
For sure. So, I mean, you got to educate you. But again, like I said earlier, we live in a day and age where, like, if you are business savvy enough, and if you got the heart for, and if not, maybe you got a good relative or somebody you love that's want to be the dame dash the situation that can just do all that. But y'all can get together and do it yourself.
You can.
DIY.
You
It may take a little
can.
bit longer, you know.
But they don't want to wait that long. I gotta get to the bag. And that's the issue.
But even that though, if you're just smart about it, like if you can get a plan together, within 6 months, you can make something. You can get merch. Or you can I put out a record in 2020 called Love for the 313, right? I put the record out. Literally, it cost me like $200. I made about $2,000 from that record. Spent $1,800. If I do that every month, you know, I didn't. But it's like you can literally just sell some t-shirts. You know what I'm saying? Get something physical, sell it. So it's ways to you can make money. It's ways to do that. It's ways to like, but if you can just, people don't see that though. I don't want to make no little money. I'm trying to like drive a Range Rover and get some ice. I can't make no $1,800.
They see what they see on Instagram.
Yeah.
They see their favorite rappers blinging out, not knowing that bling is about to go back. They directly were like, hey, let me go and get that.
But when you get older, they say youth is wasted on the young. When you get older, you realize this stuff, man.
You realize it.
You can't tell them nothing when they're young.
You're like, this is crazy. Can't tell them nothing when they're young because they blinders on. Right? All I see is the glitz.
Well, I don't want to say all because there's probably some rare people who are just young and just wisdom, but like most young people. Because I know you couldn't tell me that when I was 18, 19, 20. Couldn't tell me nothing at all. I thought I had the whole life figured out, everything. I had it all figured out, and I'm gonna show you.
Right.
And little did I know that life showed me. Well,
right. And then you get older, you be like, yo, because life is what shapes you, and you're like, yo, I got shaped by this thing called life, and that's I think that's one of the purposes of life is that it's going to shape you, whether it's for the good or the bad, whether you actually want to take part in the lessons that you're being taught to mature and to grow and to develop. That is going to be a part of your lessons,
for sure.
But music is crazy. But that's the thing, right? When I saw that, I was like, oh, I got to post that. People need to know this right here because that's the deal. Is that, and it really, for me, it's not even just the label, right? Gary was their manager.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He was their manager, and the manager signed them to himself, his label, right? And
here's the devil's advocate part.
That's crazy.
Here's the devil's advocate part, though. Like, but what they had made it otherwise. Like, in other words, like, he brought them there, though. Kevin Hart said this on the Breakfast Club, man. And I'm not going to use the language because it's very vulgar language. But he said sometimes you got to kind of get screwed in the beginning until you can get leverage in your favor.
I mean, do you have to get screwed though?
You don't have. He said sometimes you don't have to, but it's like in New Edition's case though, they became stars.
But I think they still would have became stars
through who?
It could have still been through Gary.
If he was, well, of course he could have been honest with him.
Right, yeah. Hey, you know what? Hey, you guys are going to sign through me, which is going to be signed through, Universal or Sony, whoever it was.
But let's just assume he a piece of poop. He a bad person.
Yeah, he was.
This bad person helped them and brought them.
He did
brought them where they did, and the universe, God brought them through, and they became what they became, and what they traded all to be, quote unquote nobodies and just good talented people who never made it. So it's kind of like you have to take the good with the bad.
They situation.
I get it. I get it. Right.
They was trying to get the money.
They were trying to get the money. I mean, I don't know if it would have made a difference if they knew that Gary was on the up and up, or if they were really signed to him versus because everything still would have operated the same.
They would have. They probably would have been okay. Sure, yeah.
Same way. Okay, cool. Yeah,
I'll take it. You're taking me to LA. I'm doing it. I'm getting a record deal.
Right,
okay.
Cool. Hey, you know what, guys? Here's how the contract is going to work. You're going to sign through me. I'm going to be the mediator between Sony or Universal, whoever it was, and the group, and to ensure that you get exactly what you're supposed to get, and that right because I want to make sure that as your manager did I do that, man. None of that. And the moms were like, "You got them boys out there on tour, and they ain't making no money." I think the moms were more concerned about them getting the money.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Because even family members can be predatory.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's facts.
Your whole team, though.
The whole team,
because ulterior motives,
Ulterior motives.
Again, earlier we were talking about the toxicity, and people on teams are just toxic because they got their own little plan.
They got their agendas.
You got an artist. You say you got an artist. The artist got a whole team set up. Some people on the team, they had their own little side agendas here, so they want to block certain things, okay? Because they're afraid. If you so dope, you're going to shine anyway. You're going to shine anyway, so you don't got to put nobody else down.
Right.
But you're insecure. And so a lot of family, they might be, the mom might want it to be a singer all her life, and she didn't get a chance to do it. So now she want to, like, have a little pathway for her to do a little something over here. So, you know, it's all kind of crazy stuff to go on, man.
All kind of crazy stuff.
It's crazy out here. It really is, man.
Crazy in these streets.
It really is.
But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, because it is, and I think that's the thing. Once again, going back to having good morals and just good behavior is being upfront with people in the very beginning.
Yeah, but I mean,
we know it ain't gonna happen, but
yeah, exactly. Just assume that ain't the case.
Just assume that it's not going to be the case, and then operate from that perspective, and then I think you'll be okay.
Educate yourself. Know what questions to ask. You know
how? Like, how do they?
YouTube
University. Like, how do I know that?
History is one big thing. History, like the reason I know a lot about the New Edition story because I watched it recently. I watched it a few months ago. Because my daughter is 14, she loved New Edition now, and I'm like, well, you got to see the movie. You
exactly.
As a good parent, you're gonna learn this history.
That's right.
So I watched it a few months ago, and it's like education is what it is, you know. And then we watched Cadillac Records after that because I was like, oh, you want to know about this? Okay, I'm gonna show you some other movies about this stuff, and we learned about like labels and how people don't own their masters because we're listening to the old school station one day. She said, what about those people? Do they still make money after this record? I'm like, good question. You know what I'm saying? Some of them do, some of them don't. We don't know. Do they own their publishing? Do they own their masters? Right. You know, we talked about these things. And so education is the one big thing. I think that new artists, these kids, man, should educate themselves. And I think that whoever's in their circle, if I'm going to work with you, you got to be educated. You got to know who these people are. You got to know this stuff. It's like college. Okay, we're going to take you through college. You know, we're going to educate you about the industry. Because history repeats itself. Especially if it doesn't get called out and addressed, you know, it repeats itself. So,
that's right.
Yeah, I think education is a real big piece of that.
Yeah, and figuring out how artists can learn that information. YouTube is a great source. It is a great source of information. But here's the deal with YouTube. As we go into the next, right? Here's the deal with YouTube, is that there are too many experts today. Everybody's an expert, right? And that is not, that includes us. That includes the Indie Unplugged. Everybody's an expert, right? I was telling my wife just the other day, what makes an expert? And she was like, it just has to be somebody that knows a little more than somebody else. Like, that's what a thought leader is. That's how somebody says, hey, I can tell you what to do, is if I know a little more than what you know.
I think I'm a big sports guy, and I love sports, and I'm a stickler about analysts on TV, and I feel like if you didn't play the sport at a high level, I'm not. I can't respect what you're talking about.
I feel that.
I can't really respect what you're talking about. And that's why I love being on the Free Game podcast, because I didn't really, you know, I accomplished very, very, very little, but I'm very, very educated. But I made sure I put myself next to somebody who had platinum plaques, who bring in the biggest artists every week, who can speak. It's like watching a basketball game.
Right.
You got the color analyst who just calls the game, but then you got the person who played next to him. No, you got the play-by-play guy calling the plays every play. Then the expert next to him to call it, to analyze what they're seeing because he played the game before. So I think in music, you gotta like have some kind of experience of what you're talking about, and some kind of like numbers. You know what I'm saying? You just have to. Like, otherwise, you're just somebody with an opinion. And I raise my hand. I'm somebody with an opinion. But it's also why I participate. And I watch how I talk about people. Because somebody like a Stephen A. Smith, for example, he's very well educated. I read his book too on Audible. He's a great book. He's well educated. He knows his stuff. But he needs to watch his tone sometimes because he didn't do what he's criticizing.
I was going to say that next.
Stephen A. Smith should never call anybody a scrub. And it gets under my skin. Because compared to them,
you really a scrub.
Super had like 1.4.
So you have no authority to call somebody a scrub. Now you can say they didn't play a good game and they should improve based on the numbers what you studied, what you're good at analyzing. But you can't sit here and so for me, I try to, number one, watch my tone when I talk about stuff. But also, I participate. I'm not on the bench. I make music. I produce. I write. So I'm not just out here talking smack. And I'm not actually putting myself out there to do it, because it's like, so yeah. So I think for experts, you got to have numbers on the board, and you at least got to be like doing what you talk about, because guess what? You're gonna be a little more humble if you ain't putting up the numbers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, look, anybody should be able to talk their stuff, anybody could do a podcast, and I'm for a podcast. If you got something to say, turn the microphone on. But don't try to sell me no course, man. And you ain't you ain't sold 1 million records. You want to sell me a course on how to blow up?
Yeah.
Where your stuff at?
Don't sell me no course. Yeah, you can't.
Don't do that.
Nah,
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
I mean, you can sell a course if you want to, but if at least have some numbers to show, like some Grammys, some platinum plaque, something.
Right. Give me some social proof that shows.
Give me one platinum. Give me one accomplishment.
That shows something.
These jokers don't got nothing. And you trying to sell me something? And you don't got nothing? You got zero? You want to sell me something?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's how they do.
That's crazy.
But that's the thing. That's the thing with YouTube is that there are too many people. Like even sitting here, what makes me qualified to have this podcast and for you to listen to what I'm saying? Right. I understand what my strengths are. I know what I bring to the table. Right. I am not an artist. Yep. I do dabble in production. Right. Like I don't really produce like I used to because now I do this. But when you talk about coaching and strategy and planning and execution, and analysis, that's my strength. I done spent the past 26 years in corporate America teaching not just, I'm an entrepreneur CEO. No, I mean a CEO of a Fortune 150 companies with tens of thousands of employees, how to be better leaders. Hey, you need to implement this particular strategy. Hey, let's dissect what you're actually doing in your organization. Let's do an organizational assessment and see what's really going on and where you can maximize the potential of your organization. I do that like for real.
For sure.
In real life. So how can I do that in music? I'm not an artist.
But you have the right to talk about topics. You have the right to give your opinion because you're very smart. You're intelligent.
I think so.
So you have the right, but you're not trying to tell somebody definitively this is what it should be.
Right.
Definitively.
Right.
It's got to be this, and you ain't did it like this. Right. I would never sit up there and say you got to do this. If you ain't selling records, you got to do this, or you ain't doing it right. Like who am I to say that?
Who am I to say that? My job is to say, hey, you trying to identify how you can improve yourself. Improve your habits and behaviors. Yeah. Hey, here's how you do that.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
And
that's why I think anybody who is intelligent, has something to say, can say it, and we'll let the market dictate whether it's good information or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I was telling my wife this earlier, and she was like, a lot of the credentials sometimes that people have don't mean nothing. Like, yeah, you can have an MBA and zero experience, but how can you really then tell me how to do something if you haven't had experience in yourself? You know, when I used to teach sales, we had this phrase that people who teach sales don't do. It's like people who teach people how to sell have never sold themselves. And they got people, university professors and trainers and all these learning and development professionals who are facilitating content, but probably have never done it themselves. You got a lot of people who are experts in the music industry because they have a little knowledge, but have never done it themselves. So it's like, and the thing is, how do I know who to listen to? Like, you got something to say. You got something to say. I got something to say. This person got something to say, and so do they. And it may be 5 different things, but who do I listen to? How do I know who to say this person's credible? Because, I mean, you could say anything on YouTube.
You got to listen to what they're saying. You got to listen to what they're saying. You know, are they like being definitive? Number one, like this has to be this way, or are they saying, look, this is what I think based on this. Here's what the numbers are. Here's what the RIAA posted last year about the market. It says the market is worth X amount of dollars. This is where records are sold. Did you know that Japan still sells 70% CDs over there? So maybe you should sell CDs in Japan. I don't got to be an expert. That's just something I read it.
That's research.
And I'm passing it on to y'all. So therefore, I'm presenting value to you.
Right.
But me, I wouldn't dare like charge somebody for that though. That's kind of like,
oh, there's people charging
tons
of money.
I wouldn't do that.
Tons of money. Join my community. I mean, we got a community, but the stuff I'm teaching in the community, I actually do. Like I've done it for years and I've taught other people to do it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not teaching you and anybody in the community in the We Create Music TV platform to, this is how you need to do your artistry. I'm not an artist, so I can't really tell you how to be an artist. But what I can do is help you sit down and strategize and plan how to execute your artistry in this space. We can sit down and do SWOT analysis and, you know, individual talent assessments and all those. I can't tell you how to be an artist. I'm not an artist.
Mark Cuban said something on the podcast within like the last year, and like it ruffled some feathers. But I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I didn't repost it because
Look, ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, well, I got homies that do stuff, and I ain't trying to step up. But Mark Cuban was basically said, I'm gonna paraphrase him, but he said most of the people selling courses and stuff are full of it, because if they really knew what they were doing, they would just be doing it. They wouldn't be trying to sell it to you. They'll be actually doing it, and they would probably keep it, most of it, to themselves. And I'm like, bingo. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I like to learn. For me, I like to watch people who are actually doing it and just glean from them. You know, successful people, I'll study them. I read their books. If they got an interview, I'll listen to the interview, and I'll just try to glean from people that's my method of learning from the experts.
Yeah, me too.
Like Kevin Hart. Anytime Kevin Hart drops any interview, anything,
yeah, he industry plant.
I'm listening to it.
He said industry plant. He said industry plant.
Don't let Cat Williams.
Who said? Okay, Cat Williams said that.
Yeah. But that's just for an example. Anybody, for example, who do I look up to? Big time, Birdman. Birdman.
I'll trio y'all.
Birdman. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
I think Birdman's a billionaire though.
Based mostly off, if he may be, but it's mostly off music. I admire that. So anytime him and Slim got an interview or article, I'm listening to every word.
Yeah, Slim that dude.
So I can glean from it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for me, in my humble opinion, you got to be doing it. You know what I'm saying? You got to be doing it. Or at least like what I try to do with my platform is present what I find. Right. I'm just telling you, here's what I found. I'm a big researcher. I love to research. My major was in marketing. I love anything to do with business. I'll read it. I'll read the whole thing and pass it on to you. That's how I set my platform up. And I'm putting myself out there. You know, I'm doing music. I'm putting myself out there. So I'm not just somebody that's just trying to like talk from the sidelines. You know, I'm like, putting myself to the wolves out there.
Like Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, man. Even to the point, and I don't want to ruffle no feathers, but I got a love-hate relationship with Joe Budden. Because Joe Budden, I feel like, amazing lyricist. His career, he was frustrated with his career. So he quit and decided to just bash rappers for a living.
Yeah, don't do
that.
Don't.
That bothers me, because it's like, you quit.
You couldn't cut it.
You quit.
Ain't what a bash.
Because he had a good career going, but it wasn't what he wanted it to be.
Right.
He was tired of these small tours and you know, these small venues, and it was taxing on him. And it was a lot of hard work, and the payoff wasn't there for him. So he said, I retire. I'm gonna go to this place where I can make a lot of money, just bashing people who are actually still doing it.
Right.
And that just didn't run. But at least he did. At least he has some legs to stand on, because he did do it.
Yeah, he did do it.
He has a hit record.
Right. I mean, it's right. He has hit record.
A hit
record.
Let
me make sure I say that. He has a hit record.
For the record, though, he had an album 2013, January 2013. He put an album out called, I think, All Love Lost. Amazing album. None of them songs blew up, but it's an amazing album with an amazing body of work, man. But yeah, I just feel like at least be a little more gentle with your criticism,
right?
Because he can criticize, but just Stephen A. Smith, show some respect when you talk about players. Don't just call them scrubs,
right?
Because don't do that.
But that's the shock fact. That's the shock.
Or Joe Budden, don't call somebody's stuff hot garbage and trash, because
right.
Some people might think your music was hot garbage and trash. So don't do that. It's disrespectful. But I love it's love. Hey, I love Joe Budden and what he does.
I love Joe Budden because he does amazing with his podcast and how he builds it. Now I don't like this is just me, and it's not a Joe Budden thing, right? It's what you just said, the bashing and the bad mouthing and the gossiping and other stuff, and it's not just him. It's tons of other. I'm gonna say it. It's tons of other podcasts that feed off of culture.
Well, listen, like I tell you, when I post content, because I'm really working on being more consistent with my content creation, and I'm doing it all the time, and unfortunately, the stuff that I haven't had nothing go viral yet. I'm working on it, but the stuff that does really well, like tens of thousands of views, be the stuff where it's kind of like messy.
Yeah,
you know, what I'm saying?
I ain't gonna do it.
You know, no, I don't talk about it. Yeah. I'm always, the thing about me, I pride myself being respectful. I'm always respectful, and I never bash nobody, but I ask the questions though about Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I present the question, and I give my nice diplomatic viewpoint of it. But but the topic goes crazy. It goes crazy. You know, they go crazy, and it's like, this is what y'all like. You know what I'm saying?
This is what they like.
You know, so it's kind of like, you know.
And then now, once again, that goes back to the question: artists conforming to the pressures of the consumer and what the consumer wants, because they know they're not living that life, right? And then in podcasts, we're talking about different things, but like from rap, they may not be living that life, but they're talking about it because that's what they want. That's what's virulence, right? That's what's going to go viral. If you post it on TikTok, Instagram Reels, oh, this got 7 million views, but I'm talking about nothing or gossip or whatever the case.
It's the people,
but it's the virulence, and it's the people. They want that.
Make it go viral. Even to the label's defense, if gospel music was the big thing now, they'll sign gospel artists to
right.
You know what I'm saying? But gospel ain't doing the numbers like that. It's the killing and thugging and the sexy red. That's what's selling.
Oh yeah, that's a bunch of that.
But if like being like a virtuous woman, Proverbs 31 woman, if that was cracking,
can you imagine being a Proverbs 31 woman? Oh my God!
If that was cracking, then that's what they care about the money.
They care about the money.
So it's like,
and that's not what sells.
We the people, we got the power. You know, even as a kid growing up, I grew up in the 90s, late 80s and 90s.
Me too.
The just know the drugs era.
Yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, but wait a second, because the drug dealers, I have family members that spend decades in prison for selling drugs, and I always thought that like, if the people didn't do drugs, they wouldn't have to sell them. So why just stop doing drugs? That was like we should put all our resources in the stop. Right. So if the people didn't glorify, if as a culture, again, if we can just change the culture, maybe the rappers would change, you know what I'm saying? And the labels would change who they sign. If we just change the culture. But so the people will have the power. Power to the people. We got the power.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, to change. Until we change as a people, as a culture, it don't matter, man. And finally, speaking of being black, because I love all people of every race, but I love my people. As black people, we got what it takes, man. We don't need, if we just got on our stuff and took care of our business, we'll be straight. We don't need nobody. We don't need no handouts. We don't need none of it. And look, I would love reparations. It'd be nice. Don't get it twisted, but we don't even need that. If we just got our stuff together, man, we'll take over the world, man.
Take over the world.
Man.
Man, I agree with that.
Really would. So,
man, fellas,
let's get it together.
Man, it's been dope. I enjoyed it,
man.
I enjoyed it.
As you can see, I can talk. As you can see, I can talk.
I already know that. I already knew that.
I could go.
Shoot, I was subscribed to y'all podcast, so shoot.
Hey, you on this podcast?
No, I'm talking about his.
Oh, Brian, yeah,
Brian.
That's why I was like, yo, I'm gonna get Brian over here.
Yeah,
I appreciate him. And I love this platform, man. To our point earlier, keep doing it. Keep the microphones on, man, because
it's gonna stay on.
Because you gotta get your truth out, your perspective. You know, God put a unique perspective into all of us, and if we get the inkling to cut the microphone on, keep cutting it on. And keep putting it out there and promote it, market it, and make sure people, because out of all the 8 billion people in the world, 8 billion population,
something like that,
there's a certain amount of people that need to hear what you got to say.
That's right.
And as a marketer, it's like that marketing mind's like, let's find those people and present it to them so they can benefit off of it. So keep doing it, man. Keep doing it. We create music, the Indie Unplugged.
We create music TV, the Indie Unplugged.
Let's do it, baby.
Man, once again, this is Vaughan.
Just Yohance.
And Brian Onrea.
Man, we appreciate y'all tapping in with us. You gleaning all this amazing knowledge that we shared tonight. Man, I appreciate both of y'all. I appreciate everybody who comes on the show, because that is a validation to me that we're doing the right stuff. We're talking about the right types of things. We're putting out the right type of content, and we're sharing this with the independent music community.
I love it.
Appreciate y'all being here. Peace out, y'all. Y'all have a great, whatever it may be, night, day. But you know how it is. Peace.